All right, so get this. We're going deep today on something you requested.
Yeah.
The whole world of dental arch growth and how it connects to orthodontics. You send over a ton of notes and research,
A lot of stuff.
which is amazing. But we're going to help you break it down.
Yeah, definitely.
Ever wonder how our jaws make room for adult teeth?
Right.
Or what leeway space even means? Get ready. We're uncovering those mysteries and more. And especially why knowing this stuff early on can make a huge difference for a healthy bite.
It really can.
Okay, so
It's fascinating because most people think bone just expands like a balloon as we grow.
right, like it just gets bigger.
Yeah. But with
Right.
dental arches, it's more like building a wall brick by brick. It's called appositional growth,
Oh,
where new bone gets added onto existing surfaces.
so it's not just getting bigger overall, but the way the jaw grows is like designed to fit those new teeth coming in.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Does that happen at the same rate in both the upper and lower jaws?
That's where it gets really interesting. So research shows that the lower jaw, also called the mandible,
Mandible, okay.
pretty much finishes growing in width earlier than the upper jaw, or maxilla.
Ah,
For
interesting.
girls, that's around 8.5 to 9 years old.
Okay,
And for boys, it's closer to age 10.
gotcha.
The maxilla, though, can keep growing a bit longer.
Wait, hold on. If the lower jaw stops growing earlier, does that mean it actually starts to shrink?
You're catching on quickly. Yeah, it might sound weird.
It does.
But arch length, which is the length of that curved line your teeth make,
Right.
typically decreases as we grow, especially in the mandible.
Okay, now my mind is blown. Why would the arch get smaller if we're getting bigger overall?
It's all about the way those permanent teeth erupt.
Yeah.
The front teeth, the incisors,
Right.
tend to come in a little bit forward,
Uh-huh.
creating a longer arch length, but without changing the width between those canine teeth.
Okay, so we've got these jaws growing at different speeds.
Right.
Arch length is decreasing. And then there's this whole leeway space thing you mentioned earlier.
Right.
What's the deal with that, and why should we care?
Think of leeway space as nature's safety net for your bite.
Okay.
It's that difference in width between your baby teeth, specifically the canines and molars,
Mm-hmm.
and the adult teeth replacing them.
Okay.
Basically, baby teeth are wider, strategically.
So it's like having extra wiggle room built into our baby teeth.
Precisely. As those baby molars come out and permanent ones come in, that leeway space guides those permanent molars into the right spot.
Okay.
If that space isn't enough, you might be looking at crowding or misalignment later.
Now it's all starting to click. Does this leeway space just magically disappear as adult teeth erupt?
Well, it's not magic,
Okay.
but it's pretty ingenious.
Okay.
Those primary canines and molars, they hold that extra space until they're lost naturally.
Gotcha.
Then the permanent teeth can slide in, hopefully for a nice aligned smile.
That makes a lot of sense. But what happens when someone just doesn't have enough leeway space? Does that mean they're automatically getting braces?
Not always, but it's a big factor orthodontists consider. This is where serial extraction comes in.
Serial extraction. Okay.
It's a planned approach to tooth extraction used to guide eruption and alignment, potentially reducing the need for more intense orthodontic work later.
So it's like proactively creating space to avoid problems. Sounds kind of intense.
It's a powerful tool, but it's not a decision made lightly. Before even considering serial extraction,
Right.
orthodontists take lots of measurements, analyze cephalometric radiographs, which are special x-rays of the head,
Oh, wow.
study models of your teeth,
Okay.
and even how your jaw functions.
Wow, it's way more high-tech than I imagined.
Right.
So how do they actually decide if someone's a good candidate for this whole serial extraction thing?
Arch length is a big one.
Okay.
Remembering it's all about having enough room for those permanent teeth to erupt correctly.
Right.
Using measurements from those study models and x-rays, orthodontists can spot any issues between tooth size and the available space.
So if there's not enough room, that's when they might think about extraction. But what if someone has a lot of leeway space? Is that automatically a good thing?
Having enough leeway space is good, definitely, but it's not the only thing.
Okay.
Orthodontists look at the bigger picture,
Uh-huh.
growth patterns, tooth size, skeletal structure, and even soft tissue profiles.
Wow.
It's about creating a balanced and functional bite that lasts.
So it's not just about cramming teeth in, but making sure they work together properly.
Okay.
Okay, let's say someone is a good candidate for serial extraction. What does that process actually involve?
There's no one-size-fits-all, but there's a general sequence orthodontists follow.
Okay.
They'll usually start by extracting the primary canines, then the primary first molars,
Okay.
and finally the permanent first premolars.
Wow, so that's a lot of extractions. I'm assuming there's a good reason for that order.
Absolutely. The timing of each extraction is super important.
Okay.
By taking out the primary canines first, you're giving those permanent incisors room to erupt and align properly.
Yeah.
Next, extracting those baby molars makes way for the permanent premolars and helps avoid crowding.
Gotcha.
And finally, removing those first premolars opens up even more space, especially for the canines to settle in.
This is all making so much more sense now, but are there certain types of bite problems where this serial extraction is more common?
You're thinking like a pro.
All right, try.
So while it's used in lots of situations, a class I malocclusion, which is basically a normal bite,
Mm,
is often the ideal candidate.
okay.
Of course, other factors like crowding and available space come in, but knowing those different malocclusion classifications
Okay.
is key for figuring out the best treatment.
This is fascinating.
Sure.
I'm starting to see how much thought and planning goes into creating a healthy bite.
Yeah.
So this serial extraction sounds like a really powerful tool, but I'm guessing there are things to consider before going for it.
Absolutely. Remember, extractions are irreversible, so it's a big decision.
Yeah.
Plus, even with serial extraction, you often need a second phase of orthodontic treatment later,
Oh, okay.
just to fine-tune everything and make sure it's stable for the long haul.
So it's not a quick fix. It's more like a journey.
Exactly, and that's why realistic expectations are important.
Right.
Serial extraction can do amazing things, creating space, guiding tooth eruption,
Uh-huh.
but it's not a magic wand.
Right.
Braces or other appliances might still be needed later to make sure everything's perfect.
This has been incredibly informative. I'm really starting to grasp these complexities of dental arch growth and its impact on orthodontics. Before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, are there any other important spaces or terms we should know about?
We've talked about leeway space, but there are also primate spaces.
Primate spaces.
These are little gaps that naturally happen in a child's baby teeth,
Okay.
specifically mesial to the upper canines and distal to the lower canines.
So mesial, meaning closer to the midline of the face, and distal, meaning farther away.
You got it. So those primate spaces are tucked in towards the front of the upper canines and towards the back of the lower canines.
Gotcha. So it's like having a little map of the mouth.
Precisely. And these spaces usually close up around age 6, making way for those permanent incisors.
So it's all connected.
It is. It's beautifully orchestrated.
Amazing.
And speaking of space, remember leeway space and those crucial millimeters. It's good to revisit those measurements
Okay.
because they're really important for planning orthodontic treatment.
Yes, please. Remind me how much leeway space we're talking about and when it usually disappears.
In the lower arch, you usually have about 1.7 to 2.5 millimeters of leeway space per side.
Okay.
And in the upper arch, it's a bit less, around 0.9 to 1.5 millimeters per side.
Gotcha.
This space is gradually lost as those permanent canines and premolars erupt, usually around 11 or 12 years old.
So those millimeters really do matter.
They do.
And it's a race against time, huh?
Kind of, yeah.
If problems aren't addressed early, those permanent teeth might not have enough room.
Right. They might not.
That's why those early orthodontic evaluations are so important.
Absolutely.
By keeping an eye on a child's dental development and spotting potential issues early on.
Exactly.
Orthodontists can step in and guide those teeth into the right positions.
That's the goal.
Wow, this has been an incredible crash course in dental terminology. I feel like I could actually chat with an orthodontist now and know what they're talking about.
That's awesome.
But I'm curious what happens if someone misses that window for early intervention. Are there still options later in life?
That's a great question, and one we'll definitely get into in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay, looking forward to it.
We'll explore adult orthodontics, talk about the challenges and things to consider, and unpack some of the latest advancements that are changing the game for grown-up grins.
Awesome. Can't wait.